Hello, everyone. This is Dion Sol. I hope everyone is doing well. And as you see before you, we are looking at the Cessna Grand Caravan. And this is the black square Cessna Grand Caravan for FS24. And obviously, we are in FS24. And what I thought I would do today is I would do a flight today from KWJF. But really, the star of the show is not really the Cessna Grand Caravan. It's one of many part players, and that is I've been wanting to come up with a solution that I've been having a problem with for quite a while. And that is most Neofly, FS Airlines, uh, uh, FS Economy, all these economy modules force you to start from zero to hero mindset. And that's fine if you've never done it before. And unfortunately for me, is that I have been flying off and on since 1982, 83-ish timeline with my Commodore 64 back in the day with SubLogic before Microsoft bought SubLogic. And I'm an old guy. That's just the way it is. I'm just old. I turned 60 years old this year, so I've been through it a little bit in the flight simulation world. And so what I decided to do is, and that's why I've been away for several months now. For one, I just haven't had the opportunity to actually start recording, and two, I went down a rabbit hole with other operating systems and whatnot, and I just don't want to bore you with all that stuff. But I've been active with other things. And but I am here this time to come back around. It's like, you know what? I wanted to do something, I wanted to create my own economy module. And so what I have done is I'm currently in alpha stage, and it's going to take some time to actually get it polished to what I want. But I thought I would take this video and share with you what I have built to this point with the help of Gemini, Grok, and ChatGPT. Because I'm poor, I don't have any money. If I did, I would be flying for real, and you'd be seeing real life videos in my channels instead of simulation. But that's neither here nor there. Um, so I decided to use AI to be able to create what I want. And that is basically an economy module that I can just jump in anytime I want to, fly any plane I want to, and just go have fun, but at least have it to where I have a reason for my flight. There is a couple of, like at flightsim.to, there was a guy who basically is did the same thing that I am going to show you today. It's very basic, and mine is very basic as well, but it's good enough. It gets me done what I want to do. So without further ado, let me jump this down here to the lower monitor here and show you what I've done. As you can see on the top right-hand corner of this screen is there are four icons right there that are Python scripts. And so I went down the Python script method as opposed to trying to use C++ or any of these other programming languages that I have absolutely no idea how to program. And I still have absolutely no idea how to program. Programming is not my thing. Basically, with my ADHD or ADD, whatever they call those fancy terms, I just don't have the patience for doing code creation via doing it by hand coding. So that's why I use AI to make things happen. And I'll just become a manipulator of AI to bend to my will, to make what I want. So what we got going on here is because we have the Cessna Grand Caravan sitting on the ramp 60 at KWJF. What do I want to do? I want to fly somewhere. So what I've done is I created a script to do that. And that is this script right here, which is my job creator. It says version 0.1.8, but in actuality, it's actually version 2.0 or 0.2.0. And as you can see there, it basically just creates a job board. But there is 71,000 characters and 1,500 lines of code that you do not see to be able to give you what you see right here with all the buttons, the formatting, the all the look and the feel of the script and everything in the background. And there is just a lot of moving parts that uh, that can break very easily when you're creating code. And then trying to get Gemini, in this case, this has been a Gemini product right here, to work and to get it work correctly with either a free tier or a low subscription tier. It's a balancing act, to say the least, as me as a user of Gemini, ChatGPT, or Grok. Basically, if you don't give those three platforms money, you're not going to go very far. That's the bottom line. Fortunately for me, I was able to actually just give Gemini $4 a month for a 3 month subscription is what they had theirs set at. And so I took full advantage of it and maximized it the best that I could to be able to create the scripts that I created to get what I want, which is an economy module that I can basically do what I want. And that's what you see before you today in this screen right here. So you see the dispatch board here, you see the settings menu, and you see the historical log, which I just started out fresh, and I just click clear button to start fresh. The settings menu makes it so when you do create jobs, this is the dollar values that it creates from. And then, of course, your SimBrief alias you put in here for your own will make it so then when you hit the push the data to SimBrief, it would populate some of the values into a SimBrief for you, so you don't have to type it all out manually. It's not exactly the way I want, but it's a step in the right direction. Um, there's a lot of stuff under the hood that you don't see, hence the 1,500 lines and 71,000 characters of code in order to make it happen to be able to see what you see here, with being able to create airplane profiles and to be able to manipulate what airports you want to display on the screen via the airplane profile that you're currently going to fly. Now, I'm going to speed this up a little bit because, again, this isn't ready for prime time by any stretch of the imagination. Eventually, over time, unless people really ask for it, I'm just doing it on my own right now. But if people are really truly interested in it, that they want to take a stab at it to make my product that I have built so far and then make it better, then I can always put the scripts up on a export or a over on my uh, a Google Drive or whatever, then you can just download them and then do with what you will. I'm not interested in making money in it because I don't even have a payment system set up to, even if you didn't even want to donate to me, to be able to donate to me. So this is basically an open source project. Just do whatever you want. Eventually, if people say, "Hey, Dion, I really like to give you, for your effort," then of course, then I would go through that process to set up a payment way of doing it. But for now, I don't care. I'm just doing this because for the love of the game, metaphorically speaking. So what we got going on here is we are currently sitting at KWJF, Lancaster, California, USA, and I've already set up the minimum distance and the maximum distance for where I can fly to be able to populate those jobs within that certain criteria. And then also to the amount of pool size of the job. And you can see the pool size of the job is 1 to 100. I haven't actually put in 1,000 jobs or whatever. I only put in 1 to 100. I'm sure that's just a simple case of going into the code, finding where that is, which I have no idea, by the way. I'd have to actually upload it and say, "Hey, Grok or Gemini, where is this? Let's make it instead of 100 pool size, make it 1,000. But for now, it's 100. And I found that 25 to 50 or whatever is kind of about right, you know. And so I got 25 here as a pool size for this demonstration for a reason. And so that's our pool size. And then what I've also done is I've made it so, let's say that I don't have it in the database, and if I put in a barren or a beach, or let's put in a barren. If I can type, we'll put in a barren. Of course, now I just did it all wrong, so whatever. And if I load up barren, then what it does is it goes to a database that I actually downloaded from the FAA. The FAA has a database that you can download, that they have a lot of airframes that is in this database that you can get from FAA's website, that basically Gemini said, well, hey, you know, in a roundabout way, said, hey, you know, the FAA has got a list of airframes in a database that we can extract to be able to fine tune a aircraft profile that would help you set up an aircraft profile. So then that way, when it populates the jobs, it's going to give you jobs of the capabilities of that airframe that you choose, i.e. an aircraft profile. So when I typed in barren right there, it's going to give me, it came up with 2 hits in effect, which is a barren 58 or a barren 55. And if you put in uh, a Beechcraft Bonanza or a Cessna 172, if I just type in 172, let's see if that loads up anything. And then it comes up with what keywords of a Cessna, or of a 72, of a 172. And so so these are the ones that it came up with. It did not to automatically log or stretch the columns, which is most unfortunate. You have to go like this to do that. But they do have it where you can type in what airplane profile that you want to use, which is pretty cool. And basically those data right there that you just saw, the ADG, which I don't know what that means, or the ACC, that those are profiles that determines basically the wingspan size of the airplane and the runway length that's typical for those airframes that you would choose. So then in turn, when the script chooses what airports to populate, it's going to know that you can get in and out of those particular airports. That's one thing that NeoFly does not do. For the most part, I should digress. It does do it somewhat, but I've run into times where it populated airports where I have an airplane that I'm not going to fly into that. I can't get in and out of that that airport. I've run into that scenario with NeoFly in the past. Does it do it now, today, in May of 2026? I don't know, but it has happened to me before. So that's where the background under the hood stuff happens. And I see there's an airplane that just came in behind me and then disappeared. But anyway, so that is what that does, is it makes it so you have those abilities to be able to do that. Well, in this case, we are going to be flying. We're going to be flying the Cessna Grand Caravan. So I've already got the profile already set up in what it can do. Now, I have these check boxes, which are self-explanatory, what they give you. And so you could do towered or night ops, meaning, which is important, because when you do a job, let's say that it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, depending on where you are in the world, and you check that box where you want to do one more flight, but you're going to run out of daylight. And if you happen to be in an airplane, or it gives you an airport for you to go do that does not have lights, that could ruin your flight pretty quick, because if you can't see the airplane or the airport to land at, that's where having the night ops check active. So then that way you can uh, don't get in yourself in that situation where you're trying to land at an airport to be able to get paid for that you can't land at because you can't see where the airport is. So that's the reason why we have the night operations there. Um, and it does filter out basically filter out all the airports that according to OurAirports.com has lights. And if it doesn't have it, then we can only get what we can get. And that's where the airport database is getting its information from, and that is from Ours Airports or OurAirports.com. You're able to download CSV files and you put them into a folder, and then the script is able to use that data to be able to parse out the information it needs to be able to populate the job board. And so if you do click on lights, it's going to scan that database and then check to see if there's lights that are in there, or if it's towered, it's going to, basically filter out. These are filters. That's all they truly are. They're just filters. So it displays what you want in the job board for you to go fly to. So what we're going to do today, because it's early enough, let's say, because we're in a Grand Caravan, let's say that we're going to filter out just towered airports. And because it's cargo mission, we're going to be doing cargo. We could do cargo, packs, or combi if my profile was set up for passenger variant, which this is not. So, but if I had a cargo variant, or if I had a passenger variant, then I would click on charter cargo flights instead, or passenger flights instead, excuse me. So anyway, so that's pretty much the job there. And so we pretty much have our way to be able to set everything up, and then just hit generate a job or generate a job board. Now we have a reason to go fly where we're going to fly out of KWJF today. What it did do for us is it said, hey, this is going to be with this list here, this is the one you're going to make the most money at, which is $32,000 to go 144 nautical miles. At a bearing of 54 degrees on the compass. And so you could either check that job, or, which I do not have it built into the script right now, but if I had it set up, which I will eventually someday, I'm going to bring up here Gemini and off camera here. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and I put it in my in my task manager here, and I put in the sniping tool. And when the reason why the snapping tool is so I can select this and come over here and select all these jobs like this, save it or snap it. So now I got all the jobs, and that's why I kept it with 25 jobs to keep it within the window. Yeah, obviously, if you had a bigger monitor, you can have more jobs populated at one time, or you start having scrolling bars. So now I'm going to take that screenshot I just did, and then I'm going to pop it over here to Gemini, and then I'm going to right click and paste, and I'm going to use the voice dictation thing, and I'm going to say, hey, Gemini, can you tell me what the most bang for your buck job is? In other words, I want to know, I want to mid-max here and get the most money for the least amount of time spent in the air. So with these jobs that I gave you in this screenshot, can you do that for me? And then I will stop the voice dictation, and then I'll just hit submit. And then what it's going to do is it is going to go through and find the mid-max job and the top jobs, and then it's going to say, if you just want the least amount of time, I can just go to L45, or and then it tells me, all the particulars. If I want to go to the top mid-max of 51 nautical miles, which is L45, which happens to be from my location, is going to be in which is Bakersfield Municipal. And so basically what I am doing is I am leveraging AI to my advantage. And that's how AI should be treated and used. Uh, don't uh, don't use AI as your girlfriend. I don't recommend that unless you're really desperate. And if you're really that kind of desperate, I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, we'll not go off on that tangent. Um, so so yeah, so it's telling me right now, hey, if you wanna be the least time in the air and make the most revenue, this is going to be your sweet spot. And you can actually do the same exact trick for Neofly as well, if you really wanted to do so. But again, Neofly, I have my issues with Neofly overall. And so that's why I went through the effort of creating my own economy module. So anyway, so it looks like our least amount of time in the air to be able to make the most money is going to be this $28,000 job, excuse me, which is KL45, which happens to be Bakersfield Municipal Airport. And so that's the one that we're going to go back over here and we're going to actually choose it. And because it says it's 51 nautical miles, this this thing is sorted by distance, and so obviously this one right here is going to be the job that we are going to want. So I'm going to take this one right here, select it, which I've already done, and then I'm going to say accept the job, and then boom, the job has been selected, and then now it put it into the holding tank that tells me, hey, this is the job that you selected. So you're going to make $28,000 and carry 2,900 pounds of cargo. And this is your destination and all your particulars for that job. Now we're going to come back over here to the tab and we're going to say, hey, let's push this to SimBrief, some of the values here. Now there is another option before I push to SimBrief. I could have actually also selected view map. And what the view map option is the view option is I told it, hey, I told Gemini, I said, hey, it'd be kind of cool to be able to have an idea of where all these jobs are in relation to me on a map. And so that's basically what I did here is I just told it to push these jobs that I spammed to a map, and then that's how they are. And so you can see right over here, if I go over here to Bakersfield, there is KL45, and there's actually Meadows Field right there. So we will actually be going northwest today. So that means we'll be bucking the headwind because the winds all go from left to right. And so we're going to be having all kinds of wind in our face. So we won't be going up very high. But anyway, and as you can see, it's color coded. And I purposely had it color coded so it knows. So I know just by it as a casual glance that I know from 0 to 90 is going to be green. 90 to 180 is going to be blue. 180 to 270 is going to be yellow. And then 270 to 360 is going to be red. So I can casually look at it and say, oh, okay, this job is blue. So that means it's going to be in that quadrant of a bearing or of a heading. So that's why I made the colors the way they are. And you can, of course, you can click on it and it tells you a little bit about the information. It doesn't tell you how much money you're going to make on that job. I need to actually include that. But it gives you the idea of the direction of where you're going and the distance and the bearing of and what airport it is. So that's if you want to hit the map. Now, if I hit if you go back over and then I push on the SimBrief, now it's going to jump over here to SimBrief. And then with SimBrief, it's going to give me, it's going to actually pipe in some of the data into SimBrief. If you already have your SimBrief account, you've already set your SimBrief name up and everything. Now I'm going to take away the alternative. And the reason why is because if I found by me leaving the alternative airport in line, what ends up happening is I always get maximum takeoff, and then SimBrief will automatically shortchange my cargo, which in turn shortchanges my fuel for that cargo with my targeted cargo. our targeted cargo in this job is 2919 is our targeted cargo weight. So we got to put that in there. And then I actually got, so that way I can be able to carry the weight and stuff. And it's only says it's only going to be doing 2 waypoints in here. So we got our job right here, and then and it's already set now. It's already set up to where it's using the default, which I've already got my specific one. So I'm going to go ahead and change that out to my own airframe variant, which I actually opened up on another time. I made my own airframe to be synced up with the script. So then now it's synced up with the script. The variant of the of the airframe of what we can carry in fuel loadout and everything else. So I'll go ahead and generate the job. Now, if I was using Beyond ATC, I can type in soulless wings in here, and then, which I can't do, but if I did have it, I could just put soulless wings in here, and then the actual would say soulless wings in my Beyond ATC, but it won't work. So I'm just going to leave it as November 2080 Sierra Whiskey and go about my day. And then let's go ahead and generate the job. And now it's generating the job with the current particulars. And we are all set and ready to go with the current particulars of the way it is. Now this is important, is that now we've done that. Now we've got to export this. Now we're going to, we have 2 exports, and the export that the next script is going to need for our job is the XML document. So what you do is you go over here to download, and then you hit save link, and then it's automatically going to pop up back in where our script is, where you put your flight plans. And so you would have a folder set up with your flight plans, and then this is the file that it would save, and you would save it right there. And then now we got the save file of our job. Now, and so we're pretty much done here with the job board, and we can actually close that job board out. Now, the next script that I have built in these previous months that I have not been making videos is now my this is my flight logger. This flight logger script is where we actually take our real-time flight data. It records the real-time flight data, which in all honesty, all we really need is just the fuel burn. Everything else is just convenience for me as the user, or you, eventually when we actually set this up, where people can actually get their hands of this disaster that I have created. That that it would actually, basically, I just have the 6-pack outside the simulator on this monitor that I have right now as I am flying, and also recording the data. And as you can see, all the data values, data points that it's actually recording, what we do is we do take that SimBrief data that we got, that XML document, and then we click on that, and we use that to be able to actually go where we're going from and where we're going to. And it's not perfect, because right off it says we've already got 21% of the job done, where we haven't even left the runway yet. I don't know why it does that, but it does. So I just kind of let it go. And I think I do know why. But and then it gives you all the information where we're going: departure airport, arrival airport. Target RPM is basically set up for if you are doing a normally aspirated aircraft like a Cessna 172. When I built this script with the Cessna 172 in mind. So that's why you see the target RPM of 1600 RPM. Packs, we're not carrying any packs, that's why it's 0. And it's basically giving me the block fuel of 488 pounds of block fuel. The distance, obviously, KWJF to L45 is going to be 66 nautical miles, and we are taking off at runway 24, and our projected airport runway landing is at runway 34. And of course, here's all the data. The point of interest in this right here is the sea level altimeter setting. This is where I cheated a little bit, and because there is a value in the simulator where the simulator does a value that no matter where you are in the world, it's wherever you are with your plane latitude and plane longitude, there is the sea level, there's your altimeter setting. So it's kind of a cheating factor to where you know what your altimeter is, so you don't have to use don't have to get the altimeter setting from ATC or doing the getting it from ATIS. You can just see it right there, and you just line it up with the Colesman is where you're actually change it inside the actual aircraft itself to make them sync up, and you're good to go. And you can see the wind connection, where the winds are currently, which is basically going right over the runway right now at runway 24 at 10 knots. And so those are values that are in the simulator, and the current heading of the aircraft. You can see the current heading is at 156. The nose of the airplane is at 156. And this is, and the indicated airspeed, which is kind of weird because I currently have the, I have the covers on, so the covers, I guess, are just facades of the black square. But you can see it says it's 3 knots, so that's the wind bouncing, going through the pitot tube or the Pitot tube at 3 knots. Even though I have the cover on right now, it should be 0 right now. And then you can see the indicated altitude, basically the altitude of the airplane where the wheels are, and then AGL, meaning the pilot itself, how far I am off the ground, which is 8 feet if I'm sitting in the cockpit. And then you can see the ground altitude of 2341, and the total weight currently, which we will modify, and then the fuel currently, what's in fuel, what is used. Unfortunately, the autopilot targets, the purpose with the autopilot targets, or the intent was, and it didn't work yet. I still got to work on that. So that's why it still says 0 values. Was to actually your basically your altitude select. If I put in 8,000 feet, 8,000 feet is going to go there. The autopilot target is for the knots. And if I hit the flight level change button, and I hit indicated airspeed, and I set it at 85 knots, it's going to hold at 85 knots. So it's actually airspeed hold is in effect is what that is. And I have to do some fine tuning on the script to be able to find those values for it. The way this script is designed, it's not like other scripts where they use dependency for Python. They use the Python. Those other scripts use dependencies called Python wrappers, and this does not use a Python wrapper because there's only one Python wrapper that's even still working, and that Python wrapper is over 5 years old now and has not. There is no development. It's like it's nobody's developed it anymore. So it's forced content creators and script developers to switch gears and actually use what they call C types. And what C types are is basically raw data that you are getting from SimConnect itself from Microsoft Flight Simulator. And what you do is you use the C types, and the C types gives basically it's a parser. It parses the data in real time from SimConnect, and it's a string of data from left to right, a string of data in real time. And then the C type is where you have to parse out the right information that you need. And if it's off track by a little bit, you'll get 0 values in a sim variable, as from what I can figure out. And it's really complicated stuff. It's well beyond my understanding, but I understand it enough to know that I just know enough to be able to be dangerous. And so that's what how it works when you're doing C types. Now you could write code with Python using FSUIPC, but that introduces its own can of worms to be able to use that. So I just said, you know what? I'm having all this trouble with trying to get FSUIPC to work. To hell with it. I'll just try to be able to make it work with SimConnect Direct. So then there is no middleman in the middle. It's just me and SimConnect, or my script in SimConnect, and bypass all the middleman in the middle. And so that's how it works here. Now, in a Linux, if you actually have this script in Python running in the container of where you've installed Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 via Proton, you might still be able to use this script. It's just that you would have to set up all your Python environment in the same environment as where your FS24 is, using Proton. In other words, its own Proton prefix. And then you'd have to have everything all loaded up into that bubble of Python, or in that bubble of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024's bubble of their prefix in Python, or in Proton. And you have to use Proton GE, was probably the most compatible. You can use other Proton prefixes, but Proton GE, because I've already went down that rabbit hole. And if I was able to just make Microsoft Flight Simulator work on Linux with all of my add-ons that I have, then I wouldn't even be using Windows at all. I'd just be using Cache or Cache OS Linux, and then I would just be rocking on from there. And I would be, forget Windows altogether, and all the drama with Windows. But unfortunately, I have programs, or I have peripherals and other things that solely depend on Windows to work. So I'm kind of had to bend the knee and kiss the ring of Microsoft, and that's why I'm back in Windows 11 Professional, is because unfortunately some of our add-ons that we use, I'm looking at you, Navigraph. Navigraph, out of the box experience with Navigraph, you just have to use Windows, and that's just the way it is. And unfortunately, you can't do anything about it. Maybe one day Navigraph will actually show some love to the a Linux distribution platform, and then make it work on Linux. But I don't see that happening anytime soon, for now anyway. Anyway, getting back on topic here. So anyway, like I said, so this is what this is right here. We load it up, and the advantage is that now we can go over here and we can actually see our flight plan. We can see our top of climb and top of descent and that sort of thing, because we are using an XML document where it can actually parse out that information. And the reason why that is important, because for me, later on, I will have another script that will actually create an auto throttle scenario. So I've already experimented it once already, and it's just, well, to be frankly blunt and honest with you, it was half-ass. But I did get it to work partially. Swig of water. I did get it to work partially, where it actually, with the help of an XML document, I was able to create a auto throttle script using the SimConnect variables, and actually was able to take an airplane and get it almost all the way where I can auto land, and I can use that script for any airplane, whether it be a Cessna 172, 185, 180, it doesn't matter, because all the variables are there in SimConnect. It's just being able to find the right string to be able to extract the information, and then in turn send the information back to Microsoft or to Microsoft Flight Simulator to be able to tell it to pitch the nose down more or lower or higher or keep at the certain speed and blah, blah, blah. But I did have it work half-assed, but it just wasn't exactly. And I kind of abandoned that little project for now. And I'll revisit it at another time. So that's why having the XML is so important, because it gives you all the values you need to be from a flight path and glide path scenario where you can actually create your auto throttle that you can use on any aircraft. So that's why we have that. Systems. If I was doing a normally aspirated engine right now, Cessna 172, 185, 180, 82, blah, 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 these all would be 100% accurate. But because we are in the exhaust gas temperatures are not correct. They have really wonky values. And obviously the head temperature is off base. The oil temperature is actually correct, and the oil pressure is correct. But the RPM, the N2 or the N1 is actually accurate, but the RPM is RPM of the turbine, but not the RPM of the propeller. And so I would have to have 2 RPMs for this with all 4 engines. If I had a 4-engine application, where I'd actually have 2 RPMs. I'd have RPM for the engine and have an RPM for the propeller. And we don't have that set up here. We only have it set up for the RPM of the engine itself. So that's something I have to work on eventually. And of course, it gets the tail number from when you log into the simulator. That's why it pings the tail number that you actually put in the simulator before you start the flight. And you can manually enter it if you forget to add it. You can actually, at the last minute, enter the tail number in so you can be able to make it right. So that's where we are with the 6-pack right here. And then one thing we need to do is, because we know where we are going here, we also need to do this little script up here that you see, which is the fuel script. Now, what makes the fuel script very, very cool, above and beyond what I have created, is this fuel script is an actual real live script that scrubs fuel from airnav.com. So if I type in KWJF in the airport code and hit get fuel prices, I'll say sure. And then what it's going to do is, this is the latest fuel price currently in real life of what the fuel price is here in KWJF in Lancaster in real time. Now, if I type in here and I say, okay, I need the fuel price for L45, if there is if airnav.com has fuel prices, it does not have it. So now if I type in let's see if I just type in just L45 and see if it populates. Okay, there it is. So it's L45. So now it gave me the fuel price, the real world fuel price of what the current fuel price is. So I wouldn't trust this script for a real life operation. I have to put that disclaimer in there because I do not want to be sued. But it does use AirNav. So whatever AirNav says in their disclaimers is what I would say, because I'm getting my fuel prices from airnav.com, that this script is scrubbing. And this took me 2 weeks of back and forth between Grok at the time last year and me trying to get this script in simplistic form as it is, just to be able to get it to be able to understand the website and how to scrub, to be able to get the FBO name, the self-service and full service and jet fuel A pricing and everything else. It was a cluster F. I mean, it was a pain in the ass, but I got it. It took a long time. So again, I have to do my disclaimer, but these are real world prices based on what was reported to airnav.com. That's my caveat and my disclaimer. So that way, and why that's important for my script is so then that way, when we actually do the final from point A to point B, it's going to know the price of the fuel where I left from and where I'm going to. So when it calculates the fuel cost, it's going to actually have the correct fuel prices. Now this is the actual script that takes everything and puts it all together, which is my Solus Wings management company file. I started out with liquid access of $400,000. I just pretend that I sold a house for $400,000 and put in my local airport where I start from, my name of my company, where the airport or where the directories where for this to calculate to get all of the logs and information it needs, where I told it to where to go to browse to be able to find them and that sort of thing. And then all the values of my expenses, I put in $30 a day for tie down fees at KWJF. My monthly expenses for rent, for a hangar, monthly internet cost, because it's basically you're having not only my little short little business here is not only a it's not only just a hangar, it's actually my field office, my office, and it's itself. So we're going to have you're going to have your basically your office space plus your internet access, your maintenance reserve and flight is $50 per flight. Your standard fuel weight, which because I started out with the Cessna Grand Caravan, we're using jet fuel A, put in 6.7 range of electric bill. I just made it up based on what my electric bill range here in the Antelope Valley where I live in real life, from $150 to $550. It just depends because you're going to have an electric heater during the winter time. You're going to have a refrigerator. You're going to have a microwave. You're going to have a water cooler. You're going to have power tools. You're going to have various stuff that consumes electricity. So I just put that range and it just kind of guess and just kind of makes it up. Because I told Gemini, based on my real life here in the Antelope Valley, what it costs for me at my household where I live in, of what my average electric bill is based on the people that live here in my house, which I'm not going to disclose besides myself, how much it costs. I said my electric bill in real life ranges from $150 to $600. And then my water bill ranges anywhere from $82 to $140, depending on if the sprinklers are running or whatever here in the high desert. So that's why I have that range there to give it some kind of randomization. And you could put in whatever values you want, and then you just save it and rock on. And then the ledger, when you process all of the data, you can actually, like right now, if I wanted to, I can actually post like right now, I bought a Cessna Grand Caravan. Let's say I'll just put in a C208 Caravan or C08 cargo master, November 2080 whiskey, and the amount is going to be, we're going to say it's let's go with $1.5 million. Make sure I got my numbers right. So I put a comma there and I put a comma there. So yeah, I got it right. 0.00. And this is a debit. Now I'm going to be hugely in debt, and that's okay. Now that should be red instead of green, but whatever. So now I have just put a manual entry there of $1 million in debt. If I go over here in my general ledger, and you can see I'm in debt. So now I gotta work my ass off to get out of debt. I don't have any kind of loan structure set up here. This is just straight up, debit and credit. And so, it is what it is. So I got to bust my ass off to be able, and it says amount of, this shawl should be red. It should be negative, but I'll have to fix that somehow. Make it reciprocate like what you see right here in the ledger itself. And so there's my balance. I'm $1.1 million in the hole. And so that pretty much takes care of that. So now I just need to go do the job and then process the job. So that's where we are right now, is to actually get back in the airplane now. Now we know where we're going, and we need to load the fuel out in the airplane and get the airplane ready to go. So let's go over here, and then we will go ahead and walk into the airplane. You can see all the little airplanes over here, all nice and fancy. And we'll come over here. I don't know if we can take these out by hand. Yes, we can. That's cool. One thing about the black square is that I don't see where you can actually clean the airplane, and you can't check the fuel quality. Can't go and make sure there's no other little tidbits I haven't been able to find, because they actually give you the probe where you can stick the probe in there to get to see if there's any water in the line, but you don't have any ability to do that. But we can look around the airplane and whatnot, and like I said, this is the cargo version, so nothing special there. Now, I do have a that's for the other side though, so you can try to move it, but it's not going to move. Let's see if we can move the ailerons. Nope. Ailerons I think that's because they're locked, because I haven't been inside yet. Now, could I have actually did a tie down right here? No, I guess I cannot. No hitbox for the tail tie down. And we can look inside. And that's because we haven't done any passengers or any cargo yet. That takes care of that. And of course, you can look in here and see that there's nothing in here, which is expected. So I think we're good to go with our walk around, our fast walk around here. See, right here is where this is where I would like to have the ability, and like that, to be able to plug in just like that, where I can plug in the APU, which is very, very good. Let me go ahead and climb inside. And we'll go ahead but you still have to do Control C to get in. Okay, now we're Control C in here, so we'll close that up. Close this up for now. Get rid of this. We'll get rid of that for right now. Now that we've got the ground power unit in, we'll come over here and we'll just turn everything on so we can prep everything. And we're making all kinds of noise because I put our fuel selectors so they shut up. And so here you go. Now we're inside the black square Cessna 208 Grand Caravan. And we'll go ahead and go back and forth, get these things in sync. The reason why this is one of my checklists that I do, because you can see how it's flaking out right here. If it over time, because I live in a very dusty environment here, see how that's flaking around like that? This is a problem with the honeycomb yoke and the honeycomb throttle. Overall, here I've had the honeycomb yoke and honeycomb throttle for about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years now. And if I'm going, because now I'm 5-6 years, I can now compare it to the Logitech modular throttle quadrants and the throttle quadrant, or the yoke for uh, the yoke itself, and I have to say, in all honesty, um, Honeycomb has shot themselves in the foot. Um, I I actually got more use with less problems now that's been 5 years in with my experience. I need to clarify with my personal experience with the Logitech is actually there's no difference between the quality of uh, the honeycomb system and the Logitech system in the context of serviceability. And you guys are going to say, Dion, you're off your rocker. You're crazy. Why would you say that? And that's because of things like this here. When this stuff gets dirty, I have actually this one, you can't see it, but uh, one, um, I have one, what do you call it? Lever with this honeycomb yoke that I can't use at all. It's totally unusable, and it actually bleeds over when you see little trips like that. It actually bleeds over. Um, the noise bleeds over into the other, um, the other levers as well. And so overall, if I was knowing what I know now about honeycomb, it's one of those situations where you get what you pay for. My dip switches and my honeycomb throttle quadrant, the first four switches don't work. You really got to smash back and forth several times in order for them to work. And a lot of it is the fact that I live in the Antelope Valley up here in northern Los Angeles County in the high desert, and you cannot get away from it. We live in a dusty environment, and that's just the way it is, and it's nothing that I can control. I mean, I live in a household that's basically cleaned nearly every day because we know this, but dust these honeycomb yoke and honeycomb throttle quadrant are like dust magnets. They just get inside and they just gum up everything, and overall, you know, it is what it is. It's just they are set up for you to be living along the coast or in a high, um, I would say, in a high environment where you are not in a dusty environment in the context of that your your humidity is a lot higher. Like if you, I bet you, for those of you desktop aviators that are over in, let's say in Florida, you probably have a higher success rate with these honeycomb peripherals than I do living in the desert like I do, because the dust there, you have your other problems. I get it, but because you have higher humidity, the dust is going to settle down more because the molecules in your atmosphere is just heavier, and it's going to cause those molecules of dust to set down at a higher frequency because it's just the more moisture in the air. Whereas up here in the high desert, dust just seems to stay up, and it just never kind of just goes away. It just kind of just lingers around up in the high desert. And that's been my personal experience on it. Now, obviously, your mileage may vary, but that's just been my personal experience. So I've got a honeycomb yoke where, like I've said before, the RJ45, um, that the base RJ45 that plugs into the RJ45 plug that plugs into the base of the honeycomb yoke, that then in turn plugs into the yoke itself. That was a bad design choice because it's not just me. Other people have had the same problem where the to be able to make all your buttons work, you got to have, in my case, you got to have um, I got a bunch of rubber bands that pull it down to be able to get it to have it stay connected, to be able to turn, um, to be able to make it so I can actually, make it, the brakes come on and off. Now that I just did that, now I just killed my I just killed my my auxiliary power unit. So we'll come in here and we'll turn that auxiliary power unit back on. There. Anyway, and so now we go and we look and you see that you got the tablet here. But yeah, so to sum up, you know, my grievance with honeycomb yoke and honeycomb throttle quadrant, you get crappy things like that, and it's very disappointing. I've actually take compressed air, injected compressed air into it to try to clean them out, and it's just they're just they're not very good against dust. They're too high precision instruments to be in a very dusty environment. That's been my personal experience with them. So if I bought them again, I probably wouldn't buy them. I'd probably just have to keep on going with lesser quality honeycomb yoke and throttle quadrant just to be able to offset that they'd be able to withstand the dust more, because I did get more mileage with less problems out of the Logitech yoke and throttle quadrants than I did with the setup I have here now, which is most unfortunate. Now, regarding the Crossfire MFG rudder pedals, those things are all metal through and through, and so the rudder pedals from the Crossfire rudder pedals, just search Crossfire rudder pedals, and there's a Croatian or whatever how you pronounce it guy who built it. That thing is rock solid. It's just awesome. I can't speak highly enough of how solid it is, and dust it just laughs in dust's face, because it could be all dusty. It doesn't matter. It just works. So my rudder pedals, because they're all metal. So if I was going to do it over again, I would spend the $800 to $1,000 for a throttle quadrant, and $600 to $700, whatever it costs, for a good quality all metal flight yoke, because that's just what I need because of where I live up here in the high desert. That's just the way it goes. That's just been my experience. But anyway, so that's pretty much another tangent there. So we're all set and ready to go here. And then, as you saw kind of briefly there, we have an actual tablet here for the Cessna Grand Caravan, which is really, really cool. One thing I did find out, kind of going off on another tangent, that the TDS GTN 750 XI, I found out that if you own the TDS GTN 750 XI for X-Plane, I found out that it uses Navigraph data. And so I'm just sitting there going, man, I wished I wouldn't have bought Reality XP GTN 750, because Reality GTN 750, at least back in the day, required you to only use you have to download the real live Garmin training software that just bloats, and you don't even bloat your installation, and you don't really care. All you want is the data. You just want your GTN 750 to work in X-Plane. So I would say, now I don't know if you just buy it once and then forget about it. In other words, you own the TDS GTN 750 for X-Plane. Once you buy it, it's set forever. But I do know that it does use the Navigraph, so that justifies your purchase in having Navigraph data, and you're able to use it in X-Plane, which is awesome. I haven't purchased it, but because I have basically what I have done is I have all my expenses for simulation dollars has all been in Microsoft Flight Simulator instead of X-Plane. But X-Plane is very, very attractive in the context of, if you want to get away from the Microsoft ecosystem, X-Plane is very, 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 very good. And you can, as I'm burping here, apologize for that. X-plane ecosystem, you can. I've actually have got the ground textures almost as good, or in certain situations, actually better than Microsoft Flight Simulators has to offer today. And granted, I had to have a 8 terabyte, uh, SATA drive for my Microsoft or for my X plane to be able to constantly go get the data. But if all X plane has to do is come up with a solution to where you can actually in real time shovel in uh, tiles in and out on Linux in real time. Because I had all of the United States, and I only had like maybe 2.5, maybe 3 terabytes of that 8 terabyte drive populated. And I had all 50 states, and I was on Catchy OS Linux, and I was getting awesome frame rates with my setup, flying everywhere, and I had absolutely no problems. However, um, there is some like my Navigraph data, being able to use Navigraph charts is still out. You can't use Navigraph charts. You still can't use Navigraph with the SimLink. The SimLink for Navigraph still doesn't work on Linux, or at least on an Arch-based Linux distribution, which is really the biggest problem that Navigraph has, is that if they would just have their SimLink and their products work on Arch-based Linux, as far as desktop aviators in the Linux world, that would be it. We wouldn't need Microsoft at all, as far as I'm concerned. And as far as the Octivi or Octiva, the OCT AVI, that little peripheral that I have right here that's off screen that you guys can't see, that's another awesome little product. But for Linux on X-Plane, it works fine because the community stepped up and made open source drivers for it, and it works flawlessly, no problems. Um, but the but on if you're using your Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, going through Proton and going through a Linux environment, it does not work and will not work, and I don't know why. And so that is one of the main reasons, not but one of the main reasons why I had to bend the knee and kiss the ring to X-Plane, or to Microsoft Windows, and that's why we're back on the Windows platform. So yes, I do have 2 copies of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. I have it through Steam, and I do have it through the Microsoft Store, because I simply wanted to try to see if I can get Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 to work on Linux. And the out-of-the-box experience, yes, I can, and it works great. But as far as starting adding add-ons into your Proton prefix, it is a pain in the ass, and some just don't work at all. It is what it is. Anyway, so that's pretty much my more tangent. See, I'm having all of this stuff talking about, and that's why this is going to be a very long very long video, because I'm just trying to catch back up of everything that I've experienced that I'm sharing with you today. And I appreciate you guys watching. We're an hour and 9 minutes into this video, and we haven't even got off the ground yet. So, but like I said, these are the experiences that I've experienced. So anyway, so like I said, we got ourselves with this Cessna Grand Caravan from Black Square. We got ourselves a which is a really cool tablet. And I'm having a brain fart. My brain's was being fried here, which is really, really cool. And it has all the engine information like it does with other Black Square products, which is really nice. And you got your electrical system, your cabin temperature, which is 110 degrees right now. So it's hot, and it is hot here in the Antelope Valley. I don't know what the temperature is. Inside this cabin, it's 110 degrees, whereas well, at least here in where I'm at in the Antelope Valley, it's 80 degrees and sunny, which is accurate. And so, like I said, it's really, really cool to have this. You can just put it away back over there for right now. And then what we need to do is get our GTN 750 by a PMS5. You get that all ready to go here. And we will go ahead and make sure all of our times are all set. Make sure that our fuel information is all set. Make sure our data is all set here. And what else do I need to know? We'll go in here, make sure all our information is all highlighted here. We're all good there. And we'll come over here and do our flight plan. Flight plan we are going to get from SimBrief. Boom. Boom. And our altitude, according to our other, was 12,000 feet. And nope, we're not going to go that high. We'll go 8,000. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's go 10,500. Let's see if we can get to 10,000 before because we're going to try to get above those mountains. So we'll go in with 10,500. And again, like I say, we are doing a VFR. No, we don't need to go there. I'm trying to think of anything else over here. And we're just going to go ahead and we're just going to add, we're going to assume, so what we need to do is we need to go back here. You need to assume that we are going to do a visual reproach, reproach and approach. And what is our altimeter setting in 86? So it's getting its altimeter setting from KBFL, which is Meadows Field in Bakersfield, and the winds are at 310 at 8 knots. So we're still going to be landing at runway 34 anyway. So we'll be fine there. But our current altimeter setting, so we'll come back over here. And our altitude is, I'm going to go initially at 8,500, no, correction, 10,500 feet. Take care of that. And then our barometric pressure, this is where we're cheating because I already know it's 29901. So we'll just put in there 2.9.901. Boom. And it didn't move very much, but it did move right here as well because this syncs up with this. So we're good to go there. I don't have my pointer's not on, so my bad. Anyway, our barometric pressure over here on the GTN 750 syncs up with the barometric pressure in the Colesman over there. And we'll go ahead and put this to GPS. So we're fine there. And where is the, okay, so the, see, do we take a gamble and actually start the airplane with this already right now, so close to the props? Probably not. Probably not. What'd I do? I just hit a button I shouldn't have. I think I hit a button I shouldn't have. Anyway, I hit a reset on something. But we'll go ahead and turn the battery on now. Go ahead and put the fuel on. And you know what? Let's see. I don't think No, we're not going to do that. I was going to go ahead and introduce Beyond ATC into the mix here, but you know what? Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and go to starter mode. And we'll go ahead and hit starter. Put our that out right there, and we'll start this thing. Having it this close to the, normally I don't think you would do that. Okay, our NG is where it needs to be. Our props are up. We'll introduce first run of fuel. And that should have, did it turn them off? No, that should have introduced the fuel. Oh, that's strange. Oh, that's why. Now it's going to run too hot, isn't it? Is my automatic fuel shut off? No, that should be good. There we go. So we are good to go. That wasn't exactly the way I wanted to start it out with, but whatever. Alrighty. I think we're set here. Alrighty, fuel is set. We're kind of running a little rich on fuel. So we are good to go here. We are ready to take off. We're not going to do ATC this time around. We're just gonna go fly, I think. We're going to assume that we got clearance to be able to go to runway 24 for a northwest departure. So we'll go ahead and release parking brake. Let's make sure our temperature is, make sure our temperature is comfortable here, so we don't pass out. We got our target temperature at 72 degrees. Our fans are on. Do we have any more? Got our Pitot heat and our stall heat, which really shouldn't even need at all. So our fans are going. So let's see if we can get this thing to come down a little bit. Probably gotta get the RPM up to be able to get this air conditioner to really shine. I bet you that's what it is. Okay, we'll do that. Release parking brake. Keep our and I forgot. See, this is why we did what we did here. Watch what happened. Let me go back here to the lower monitor. See, I got this job going here. I got the airplane started, but then I started to take off, and look what happens. About 5 miles an hour. Looky there. Hey, you didn't start the mission, dummy. So what I got to do is I come over here and start the mission. So now we're starting to record. Yeah, we're a little rich on fuel. We're supposed to be 488, but the way the tablet sets up in the airplane, the way the airplane is, the tablet is set up in the airplane, it's if you jump to, it has incremental jumps. It doesn't allow you to actually put in the exact fuel you want, which is most unfortunate, but that's just the way it is. But so we're good. We're fine. But yeah, if I run this up a little bit, it's going to take all the heat out of here and start to get this thing to cool down and get down to room, get this temperature down. So we'll just go on down here to runway 24 and we'll just take off. Put that away for right now. And get our speed down a little bit. Nobody coming. Make sure we're set to altitude. We're making noise. We are making noise. I think we are good to go. Another good thing, that's another good little cheater, is as you can see with the ground speed in knots, that makes it so it's easy for me to see if I'm over speeding on the taxiway or not. I did have in another script, I actually had it set up to where it's over 25 knots. It would really flash red that you're over speeding. And I actually had some where I actually would take a financial hit. But I thought, you know what? I do that so much, it wasn't a good idea, so I took it out. So now we are good to go here, and I'll go ahead and turn on some lights. All our lights on. November 208 Sierra Whiskey is at runway 24 for north departure, Fox Field, or Fox traffic. Even though this is a towered airport, by the way. Okay, so we got everything set. Everything is ready to go. Full on fuel. Everything is good there. We'll go ahead and have our fuel to on, boost on. Everything is set. All lights on, blah, 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 blah. All right, so auxiliary fuel pump is on. Need it or not, I don't know, but we're gonna take off anyway. And because of the fact that we are pretty heavy, with 2,900 pounds of cargo, let's burn the engine. You see how quiet it is. You can actually come over here now. These, there. Now it gets really, really quiet. Okay, we'll go ahead and get our speed set. I'll go ahead and pull back on the hammer here a little bit. I don't really want to burn up the engine. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and close that in, get rid of our inertial separator. Get into the green. There we are. We're all in the green. See our temperature's now down to 77 degrees. We'll put this back to normal. I think everything is, I don't see lights on, so that means we are good. And we're climbing at what, 90 degrees or 90 miles an hour or 90 knots. So if I want to adjust that, I can adjust that a little bit. And then we'll switch over to navigation mode to get on that purple, that magenta line like we're supposed to be. And we are on the go. One thing I did notice with FS-24 and with these higher fidelity aircraft, you have to trim them. So you can see, look at the once this thing gets settled here, once it gets going in a straight line, look at where the ball is. I've been noticing on these high fidelity aircraft that you actually got to start to make it so these things are in line like they're supposed to be, which is a good thing. See, there we go. Now it's the ball's starting to get in line. Did I go too far? Well, we'll see. Take it some more. Nope, now we're too far. We went way back. So move it back until we get it actually within the lines. We're messing with rudder trim, by the way. No, we're still now went too far the other direction. But yeah, you actually got to play around with the and to be able to get your nose. Which is a good thing. Hate the wind is so strong. Wind's at 204 at 10 knots, so that's not that bad. There it goes. Now it's starting to settle out. Well, it did for briefly. Now let's see how much trim I actually put in here. Hey, you can see I put in that trim to be able to get it so it'll track right. But it's working now. It's close enough. I can go even a little bit more. See, the aileron trim is in the way, so you can't see it right there. But like I said, in X-Plane, I can get all this no problem. I just don't have. See how you look at this? You can see how some areas are more. They look a little better because it's streaming in real time. In X-Plane, because I put the detail level at 16 and 17 around the airports, it's solid all the way, and it really looks really good. So ortho for XP is not dead by any stretch of the imagination. But you have to do it on your own to be able to make it happen, which is fine. So that's pretty much it. We are now just cruising via the waypoints. See, according to this, I'm 4 nautical miles away from top of climb, and I'm nowhere near that. I'd actually would have to be a little bit more aggressive on my climb. Let's see if we can get a little bit more aggressive on our climb, because it wants me to go to 12,000 feet, and we're only going to go to 10. Make sure everything is okay over here. All our temps look good. Everything is in the green that I can tell. Back off on our RPM a little bit. So, yeah. We're doing okie dokie fine. I don't think I set my cameras in this one. I set my overhead camera. So we are looking good. Haven't burned anything up yet. And you see right here, you're doing 102 knots over the ground, 91 knots indicated. AGL or 4,000 feet. You can see the ground. So we're just kind of moving right along. Adjust my Colesman right there and make it 2988. And that's it. So we're just all is well here. As we're slowly trying to get to 10,000 feet, stay above the mountains. Get rid of some lights. Once we get leveled off here, then I'll pause the video, and then once we get set up for final, then I'll come back and then we'll land. And I see that the air conditioner is starting to freeze me out. Look at that, we're at 61 degrees. We're gonna have to fix that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna switch to vent. Oh, if we do that, then we lose our track. Okay, so we gotta keep it right there. All right, and then we'll adjust this a little bit. Yeah, we're a little close at 60, so maybe we need to switch over to get rid of the AC stuff. Then we'll switch over to bleed air, and we'll open these up just a tad because we're climbing. We don't need much. Almost top of climb. So like I said, I've been doing a lot of these scripts trying to find out what works, what doesn't work, and been bouncing between different operating systems. We got 1,000 feet to go. Different operating systems. I would really like to be able to get um, Linux to really work, and then basically give give there we go. Give Microsoft a big middle finger nowadays because they are really what really got me. I guess we can just wrap back and forth while we're in coming up to top of climb. What really got me annoyed about Microsoft in general is, there's a lot of things to be annoyed about, but the recall thing. So if you have the NP chip, I think is what it's called, or NPU chip, um, it's a neural processing unit. If you have that chip in your laptop or whatever, or built into your actual chipset of your CPU, Microsoft uses that to be able to take snapshots of your operating system every 15 seconds and sends those in real time, kind of like what they do with downloading, uh, how we download telemetry data or data from their servers for our for the ground below us. They're actually uploading data from your computer, so they know, every 20 seconds or whatever of what you are doing with your computer. And obviously, you can see that can become problematic when you are on your computer and you're going to your banking information. So I think that's problematic myself. And so that was one of the principal reasons why I was playing around with Linux, trying to get away from that. Then I come to find out, for me personally, that's not a big deal because I don't have an MPU chip after all. So that actual problem isn't bad. But then but if I have the mindset of that if Microsoft is willing to go and do things that way, what's to stop them to do it from not a hardware point of view, but from a software point of view and take data from you? So I'm not interested in that. So that's why I was trying to, use Linux, and Linux is just almost there. I mean, it's just if I wasn't a desktop aviator and flight simulation, I wouldn't need Windows at all, and just do uh just do Steam, Steam games and whatnot. Then I wouldn't need it at all. I can go about my life completely flying, gaming wise, and just watching YouTube videos or watching uh, Rumble videos and Kick and everything else. I could do just fine without Microsoft at all using Catchy OS. But because of some of the scripts or some of the things that I use, not scripts, sorry, some of the applications I use for mainly Navigraph and having all the lights work on my honeycomb yoke or honeycomb throttle quadrant, and having the Octavie, or however you pronounce it, have that peripheral work. You gotta kiss the ring. It's just the way it goes. If you don't use those products, then you're fine. But I use them, so it is what it is. Well, I think we are at 10,500 feet now, it looks like. So I'm going to step away for a second. That way I can take care of business while we are in straight and level flight here. And I see I gotta move my get that little ball back in the center right there. And now it's back in the center. And then we will come back when we are final to land. So I will see you guys in a bit. All righty, we are back and I'm on final to land. Trying to get lined up here on the runway. Land this bad boy. All lights on, everything is on. Initial separator is in. One thing I don't have going on here is I better have my damn flaps out. Or I'm going to run into those pylons or those wires. There we go. And power. Oop, a little hard. I'll go to the next one. Lamps cleaned up. Lights still on the runway. Clear of the runway. November 208 Sierra Whiskey is clear of runway 34, taxiing to parking. Bakersfield Municipal traffic. Said that kind of slow, didn't I? And we made it. Now, when it stops like it does, then you see that I get the finalize button sitting there flashing like crazy, which is letting me know hey, you need to stop the flight. So I'll just stop the flight. Now it saved the flight, as you can see the file that it saved it as. And then, of course, now I need to come back in here into the simulator. We'll go ahead and do the quick shutdown process. And we'll go ahead and shut down all the turn off everything. And we are dead. We got a dead airplane. Yay. Okay. So the airplane is basically done now at this procedure. Now we need to go back over here. We've already saved it. So we'll close that one out. We already did the fuel price thing at the start. So we're good to go there. Now we go back to the ledger here. And then we should, oh, I know what I got to do. Now what I got to do is, now this is one of those bugs in the script that I've created that I have to do manually, I think. And I'm trying to set, yeah, I do. Okay. So now I can go over here to this monitor. There we are. And then what I have to do is I have to take the actual file, the log file itself, and then drop it into the recorded flights. I got to have it set up to where it automatically does it. Instead, right now, it doesn't do it. So I got to put that in there. Then once I do that, then I think I can process it. So we'll see. Processed. and it's now processed. It knows that I'm sitting here. My airplane is sitting where it's at now, and it says it's processed. And it says it made $28,000, $700 in fuel, $95 with the overnight. Basically, in effect, it's the landing fees in effect. Oh, my wife's casserole. Sorry, eating on camera. But yeah, so we're sitting pretty here. So now we just got to sit there and spam a bunch of more flights and try to get out of debt. I might have to do. I probably wouldn't have done what I did. What I would have done is done the flights and basically did it in the context that I was free and clear of the airplane instead of being in debt. I don't know. I have to play around with it. But anyway, so like I said, we finally made it here. We're here in one piece, and that's pretty much the size of my own personal. So now all I got to do now is just close this one out, go back over here. It should recognize where I'm at KL30, L35, 45, and then go to Towered Airports. Please define the aircraft profile. So I got to load the aircraft profile back up where I'm at, and then generate flights, and then I just do it all over again and go to the next job. So anyway, so I'll probably redo this again, but anyway, you guys get the idea. So I definitely appreciate you guys watching this, and that I hope, like I said, hope eventually I will, hopefully I will be able to share this with you all, because right now it's really in sad state unless you guys really say, hey, I want to give it a shot. And then, of course, I'll be more than happy to put it on my Google Drive, and you guys just take everything, and then we can kind of come up with some kind of a step to say, well, you need to download this, you need to download that, and you need to create this kind of directory and this kind of directory, because all that stuff hasn't been done yet. So right now, everything is just hodgepodge scattered around my hard drive. So there's a lot of work to be done. But anyway, I definitely appreciate you guys watching this, and definitely throw a big, huge like on it if you like it. Makes everybody happy. So including me. Anyway, take care, guys. Have yourselves a great one. Bye.